Good afternoon, Olive, Arlo, and Frank. Let's jump into the next myth in a first myth storybook in the Read It with Grandpop series. This is called The First Corn. And here's a bunch of corn growing in a cornfield. And so you think, oh, well, corn's always been here. But people try to figure out where things come from. And this is, I think, a North American Indian story that's very interesting. It's not true. You often say there's a kernel of truth in every myth. And that's funny because you have kernels of corn. But I wasn't saying that to make a joke. A poor joke at that. But some myths are almost entirely true, and some are like half true. Probably this one has no truth to it whatsoever. But it's this tribe that decided to explain this story. And we were talking about this before. People would sit around the fireplace. Fireplace was very, very important in the ancient world, no matter where in the world you were. You would cook on it, you would dry things, you would dry like bison hides and stuff to make clothing out of, to make blankets, and you would cook your meals on there. Boil water if it was contaminated so you could drink it. And then at night, there's no TV, there's no internet, there's just the fire. And if you're in an area where it's cold, everybody gathers around that fire and you tell stories. Tell stories about how everything started. So our agenda is always, first we're going to have spelling, and then we're going to have the meanings. So this is vocabulary, the words and their meanings. And then we're going to find those words. There's 4 words each time. We're going to find those words in the story. And then you're going to read through with me. Then you're going to read it. You can do that in any order. You can stop it and try to read it yourself, and then start it and let me read it, and then stop it and you read it again. I believe this one is a 1. I could be wrong, but I think it is. And then at the end we're going to have the pop quiz, the Grandpop quiz. So, and this time I didn't make corn one of the words. Last time it was something about a star. Coyote dances with a star, and star was the first word, but then coyote dances with a star was written right here. So let's see where it is. Fire. How do you spell fire? You should be getting better at these things because you'll know that it starts with. You'll know that I or, and then you'll know that there's probably a vowel at the end of it. But you'll go through these. You should do these until you know them really well. You don't have to keep going over the same one over and over again, but you should do this and then go back and do it from the beginning and see how much you remember. So fire, F-I-R-E, fire. What is fire? And I talked about this before, but most of these are very common words, so you know what they are. But just get used to the fact that you're going to have to know the spelling of a word and the definition of that word. So fire is combustion of a material. And that could be, like if you have a gas stove, the gas that's coming out in the burner is what's on fire. That's the material that's on fire. Combustion is just another word for fire. It's how fire happens. It combusts. It push. That's what it is. It's the push of fire. So next up is woman. Woman. Now woman's a tough one because, and well, try to spell it first and then we'll. Woman. So you would think it's W-O-M-E-N, woman, because that's the way we pronounce it in modern day America. But it's woman. And what is a woman? Woman is a female human being. So a man, you have a man, is a male human being. So you have woman, female. If I did man, you'd have man, male human being. So the difference between men and women when it comes to a lot of these words is that there's a prefix. That's what this is called, a prefix, wo and fe. So you're like a male, but you're the female. You're the fe part of it, whatever fe means. Okay, next up is grass. How do you spell grass? Grass, G-R-A-S-S, grass. This is one of those words that you just have to remember that it has two S's at the end. If you just took this S off, it would say gras, and which isn't a word that I know of. And what is grass? It's a plant that some animals eat. And the last word is land. Land. How do you spell land? L-A-N-D, land. And what is land? It's a piece of ground. So, let's hop right in. At the beginning of time, there was a man. So we'd had woman, but here's how you spell man, who lived on his own. So he didn't have a wife or anything. He had nothing to eat but roots and nuts and berries. So you're familiar with nuts and berries. Berries are like blueberries, strawberries, those kind of things. You can pick them off bushes, and then nuts come normally from trees. But roots are things that grow underground. So we're talking about things like carrots, sweet potatoes, peanuts. And he didn't know how to make fire. So there's the first word. I can't believe that I actually remembered to search for the words. He didn't know how to make fire, so all his food was cold and raw. Well, that sucks. Drinking a smoothie. The man was very sad and lonely. He curled up in the sunshine and slept the days away. When he woke up, he saw a beautiful, what? What's that word? woman with long hair, quite unlike his own. At first, he was afraid. So here he is. He's up here. He looks like a woman, but he's a man. And so he's lonely, and he goes to sleep. And now this lady has very, very yellow hair. Like, this is beyond being blonde. Now, the American Indians, I've never seen one who was a purebred American Indian that didn't have black hair. That's just me making observations, but it's not like I run into a whole bunch of American Indians. So maybe some have blonde hair, but this is shockingly blonde. So he was afraid, but then he thought he needn't be lonely anymore. So he's like, uh-oh, got me a woman now. He sang to the woman about how sad he was on his own. So he's singing the blues to her. And here he is singing, and we see musical notes coming out of his mouth. That's showing that he's singing. Stay with me, he begged. Do as I say, and I shall be with you forever, the woman replied. Wow. So it sounds like he's going to have her as a wife, but that's not what's going to happen. She led him to some dry grass, so there's the next word, and showed him how to start a fire, so we have fire again, by rubbing two sticks together. Soon, a spark flew out and the grass caught fire. So there's fire again. So they say rub two sticks together, but this is really what you do. You take a flat stick, and it has a little hole dug out in it. And then you take a pointy round stick, and you rotate this. You put your hands on it and go back and forth to make it kind of spin back and forth. And it gets hot, and then eventually you can make fire. Now, usually there'll be a little something like a cotton ball there or something to catch fire, but a large patch of land, so that's our last word, was soon completely cleared. So she has him start a fire and burn the field. And we see here, he starts the fire and then burns the field. Wait till sundown, said the woman. Then take me by the hair and drag me over the ground. The man didn't want to, but he did as she asked. So this is like caveman stuff here, dragging a woman by the hair. Don't try this at home. And you see it's really long hair, and we'll see why. In the spring, there will be plants wherever you drag me, she said, and you will see my hair spilling out between the leaves. And remember the last time that you shucked corn, you saw this lady's beautiful blonde hair. And this is actually corn that we got the other day that your grandmother was shucking, and I got in there and did this. Very interesting story. So, the pop quiz. How do you spell fire? fire. F-I-R-E, fire. And what is fire? It's combustion of a material. Next up is woman. How do you spell woman? And remember, it's not spelled like it sounds. You'll just have to remember that. It's a lot of words that you're just, and don't worry, if it takes you a little while to learn, you'll learn it. And once you learn it, you'll always be able to spell woman. Woman, W-O-M-A-N, woman. And what is a woman? A female human being. Next up is grass. And remember the last two letters are the same. Grass. Grass, G-R-A-S-S. Oh, it's a plant that some animals eat. Sorry. I must have pushed that a little harder than I thought. And your last word is land. 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 L-A-N-D, land. And what is land? It's a piece of ground. Okay. So let's do the summary. Take a minute and tell me what this story is about while I take a couple pokes of this. A lonely man is visited by a woman. She has him create a field and then has him drag her through the field by her hair, which causes corn to grow there the next spring. This should have been a comma, and that should be a small w. But hey, whatever. You know what they say. Peace out.